Hollywood has conditioned us to expect spectacular deaths in space. Bodies exploding violently, blood freezing instantly, eyes popping out of their sockets in a triumph of special effects. But the physical reality of the cosmic void is much quieter and infinitely more disturbing. To understand what truly happens to a human body exposed to zero atmospheric pressure, we must abandon science fiction and enter a rigorously controlled environment. A vacuum chamber. There will be no theatrical explosions here. We will only witness a brutal, methodical collapse of the physical rules that keep us alive on Earth. Imagine a catastrophic failure of a space station bulkhead, or a tiny piece of debris piercing a spacesuit. The pressure surrounding the astronaut plummets from 1 atmosphere to a total vacuum in a fraction of a second. The first, primal human instinct in this situation is to hold your breath. It is also the most fatal mistake. In a vacuum, the air trapped inside the lungs expands instantly due to the extreme pressure differential. If the victim holds their breath, the delicate network of pulmonary alveoli tears mercilessly, forcing fatal air bubbles directly into the bloodstream. The only chance of survival in those first few seconds is, paradoxically, to violently exhale all the air. Once the lungs are emptied, a physical phenomenon known as ebulism begins. At zero pressure, the boiling point of liquids drops drastically. No heat is required. At normal body temperature, 37 degrees Celsius, the water present in the body's soft tissues spontaneously begins to turn into gas. This expanding gas accumulates in the soft tissues and underneath the skin. The victim's body begins to swell grotesquely, potentially reaching up to twice its original size. The body won't explode. Human skin is incredibly elastic and strong enough to contain this pressure. But the swelling blocks circulation and paralyzes all movement. Contrary to another popular myth, your blood does not immediately boil in your veins. The human circulatory system is closed, autonomously pressurized by the force of the heart. However, ebulism ruthlessly targets exposed fluids, the saliva on your tongue and the tears in your eyes. The saliva evaporates instantly. This rapid evaporation absorbs enormous amounts of heat, literally freezing the surface of the tongue and the upper respiratory tract. Ocular fluids vaporize the same way. This process freezes exposed soft tissues in a matter of seconds, a frost spreading from the inside out in total darkness. Meanwhile, the brain, unaware of the breach, frantically consumes the remaining oxygen in the blood. In a zero-pressure environment, the process inside the lungs reverses. The venous blood passing through the alveoli begins to surrender its precious oxygen to the surrounding vacuum, rather than absorbing it. The clock is ticking relentlessly. After just 12, maximum 15 seconds, the completely oxygen-depleted blood reaches the brain. The victim rapidly loses consciousness. This is a fulminating hypoxic syncope. From this precise moment onward, there is no more panic. There is no more pain. There is only a biological machine shutting down. The heart, the final engine, continues to beat for a few minutes, desperately trying to circulate blood that ebulism is rendering increasingly thick and full of gas. But the severe lack of oxygen irreparably damages the cardiac muscle. Between 60 and 90 seconds, the heart enters fibrillation. Then, it stops forever. Death by asphyxiation has now occurred. But what happens to the body afterward? In deep space, in the shadow of planets and far from direct sunlight, the temperature plummets to hundreds of degrees below zero. But without air, there is no thermal convection. The cold doesn't envelop you like it does on Earth. The body doesn't freeze instantly as if dropped into liquid nitrogen. Instead, it cools very slowly, passively radiating its body heat into the cosmic void in the form of infrared radiation. It can take hours or even days before the internal core freezes completely solid. If the body were exposed to direct, unfiltered solar radiation, however, the remaining water would sublimate instantly. The body would undergo a process of extreme desiccation. It would become a literal space mummy, perfectly preserved by ultraviolet radiation in a totally sterile environment, potentially for millions of years. We know all of this with extreme precision, not just from theoretical models, but thanks to a documented incident. In 1965, during a NASA test inside a massive vacuum chamber, a technician's suit suffered an accidental decompression. The man was exposed to a near total vacuum. He lost consciousness in exactly 14 seconds. He was saved at the very last moment by repressurizing the room before his heart failed. The last thing he remembered before passing out was the sensation of the moisture on his tongue beginning to boil. A cold, silent warning that reminds us of an absolute truth. Just beyond our thin atmosphere, human biology is tragically and rapidly incompatible with the universe.